Left behind, not by choice, but because it couldn't go any further. A machine built to move through time suddenly stuck in it, so it waited. Turns out, mine did the same thing. I built this version of the time machine back in 2015, and for 10 years, it just sat on a shelf, waiting. And here's the thing, I wouldn't change a thing about it. What's up, Plastic Addicts? Welcome to Jason's Space Dock, where sci-fi kits come to life, skills are sharpened, and every mistake is a lesson. This is more of a retrospective, so it's not about fixing mistakes or making changes. It's a study in why this build still works, and how my approach as a modeler has evolved since then. And this revisit will give me a chance to do something I never did, a proper display base, but we'll talk more about that at the end of the video. The first thing I did right out of the box was get the basic colors down. The stainless steel, the fascia for the front and rear taillights, and getting those 50s rims and white wall tires just right. I hate painting molded detail, always have. So when I got to this one, I decided I was going to do a little bit of work with the wiring and make it easier. So I used magnet wire, which is kind of my go-to for small spaces, but for small scale it works perfectly, and literally just painted it up, wrapped it, and then ran it along the large molded main wire, which I didn't want to grind off and recreate. So it's a bit of a hybrid in that sense. The power block for the temporal field generators need a little bit of work, not much, but I had to modify it in such a way to have the wire-wrapped wire go into it. So I used my flush cutters, which are probably the best tool I ever bought, and knocked off the much smaller one, did a little bit of cutting and sanding and filing to get rid of any nubs, and then painted and installed it, and as described before, ran the wiring along the molded, much larger power wire to replicate as close as I could with what I had to what the car looked like on screen. For the rear power blocks, I actually sanded off the molded detail and ran new wiring. So the vents, baffles, whatever you want to call them, whatever the proper name is, are probably the most complex part on the model. And even they're not too bad. It's just, I don't like the seam right down the middle. And little baffles go together fairly well. Then glue those two halves together and clamp them down. You want a nice, good connection because this seam needs work. I actually cut it down a little bit with the knife and then did filing and sandpapering to smooth it out. And with the good glue joint, I actually didn't have to do any seam filling. I didn't have any micro gaps. Once the vent body is completed, it's on to the baffles, which are very straightforward. They literally slot into each other, and you can't really get it wrong. But pay special attention because you've got a deep groove and a shallow groove. Because now that I've said it, I realize it actually is, you can flip them. So be very careful with the installation. If you're doing the original version of the Back to the Future DeLoreans from Aoshima. And here they are in place. I went with the dark gunmetal, not really shaded like in the movie because I didn't have that skill at the time, but hopefully on the next one. This is here just because I enjoyed it. It was just a little bit of detailing, brush detailing that could have went undone, but I want to do those chrome frames that used to go around the sealed beam headlights that these cars had. And yeah, it was just brush painting as easy as possible. A little bit of cleanup to do, but they came out pretty good. And there's 3 of them in place. And for this, I actually used white glue to do the install. White glue and a wetted brush. Apply the paint to the headlight pot, the paint. Apply the glue to the headlight pot, and then install the headlight itself, and boom, just a little bit of extra detail. It doesn't really jump out, but it's nice to have. Here's a look at the mostly completed reactor area. mostly out of the box. I made a few minor modifications like adding wires, but the attempt was to be as close to the actual car as possible without going overboard. And actually, just noting the Mr. Fusion there, had to make some mods to get that little clear piece to fit in properly. But that was the most complicated part. Aside from coiling these little wires to go around those parts, which name I can't recall, they're actually all in the Haynes Technical Manual, which is definitely worth buying. For the temporal field generators, just showing where I've painted black the body mounts and not the clips that hold the grill on. And then the routing and just showing how everything fits. And same on the front, you've got the black clips for the body mount, separate from the clips that hold on the grill. This may have actually been the most interesting part of the model, is the 1950s time circuit control box. I added some little additional detail, a bunch of coil wires, some additional wiring, just to kind of bring it up. And I tried something for the first time. Once again, remember this is 10 years ago, 11 years ago. For the crate, which was a Pepsi box, I believe, I tried to give it some wood grain, which I had never done before. And I did a basic brown, as you can see here. And then with a darker brown, I don't know the proper term, it's not dry brushing, but I used this kind of crappy brush with really inconsistent bristles to see if I can get some wood grain in there, and brush that on. And the biggest thing, I wanted that kind of yellowish, orangish stain that was kind of big at the time. So I applied a clear yellow over it and got a pretty decent result. Tried something similar with the leather straps. Don't think they turned out as well, but it is about trying things and seeing what works and what doesn't work, and just constantly improving your craft. Now, this is where I kind of broke away from what the car looked like. I found the interiors kind of a bland gray, so I kind of gave everything a light gray coat, but then ultimately did the center console and trim highlights on the door panels dark gray. And then, of course, for the time circuits, as much as I could do with the limitations of the model, add some copper in there, color the handle, do another wiring bundle, because there were several that ran to the rear bulkhead all the way up to the front of the car, the time circuits, etc. And yeah, same as before, just different colors of magnet wire, all wrapped together just to give it some depth, not that molded in wiring. Even here, for the speedometer, the auxiliary speedometer, I ran a separate wire to it. It doesn't look great because it's out of scale, but it works. Additional wire bundling along the dashboard. You can see I got the time circuits in there. We're going to talk about that in a second. But the interior's coming together, and it looks okay. Things I'll do differently on the new reissues when I get to them, though. The rear bulkhead, definitely not accurate, so you kind of do the best you can with it. I got that set of controls off to the passenger side, and I'm going to run some additional wiring there, down the front, down the side, around the rear bulkhead, more wire wrapping, which, oh, by the way, magnet wire doesn't take paint that well, so if you ever do it, be ready for multiple coats. So you see, got some wiring in place, and for the flux capacitor, I actually did add some color and some wiring to bring that out, because once again, it was kind of bland and whatnot, and when you add the black backing around it, it really starts to pop. The overhead console, pretty straightforward, just a silver paint, transparent, orange, yellow, red, green for the buttons, the decals, which are definitely the wrong color. And then for installing the windshield / side windows, white glue again, just to prevent any damage to the plastic if it runs. You don't want to use crazy glue because you don't want it to fog up the glass, so very careful work there. time circuits, this is what I wanted to talk about. I had to trim them down to get them to fit properly, because as you can see from this image, there is a lot of carrier film on it. It goes over, above, and beyond, left, right, top, bottom. So it has to be trimmed right down to be able to fit. And that is the completed interior, with lots of separate wiring that I really hope gives it some amount of extra dimension, extra detail, just sets it apart somewhat. At the time, weathering was very new to me. I think I may have done one other model before. And in this you can see a bit of comparison between passenger side and driver's side of where I've applied the weathering powder and where I haven't. And I only used 2 powders for this one. I used a light rust, very, very orange, and then this one here, regular dust. Because I wanted to give it that look of that red earth that was, that kind of permeated the American West around the fictional Hill Valley for the movie. And this impression of the car is basically after it landed, before they got the railway wheels on it. And doing the powders with the brush was actually quite rewarding. So it was actually pretty easy. Well, as you'll see, I just brushed it on. Heavy in some spots, light in others, trying to get some modulation out of it. And I'm not going to lie, it was scary, because if you get it wrong at this point, you either have to find a way to hide the errors or potentially disassemble and strip it and start again. But I was fairly confident in my my abilities here, and I was ultimately very, very happy with the results. And I never even sealed it with a clear coat. These powders just got into the paint grain so well that I didn't have to do anything, and it still holds up all these years later. There was always one piece missing from this build. Not in the construction, but how it was presented. This base from HDA ModelWorks finally closes the gap. It's part of their new line of model display bases, starting with clean, simple box designs in a range of colors, and expanding into more detailed versions like this, with custom artwork and film-inspired elements. This base gives the model some context. It's not just sitting there anymore. It's a part of something, and that's the difference. Same build, same details, but now it actually feels complete. Now I do want to give a proper thank you to HDA ModelWorks for supporting the channel. It means a lot to have that kind of backing, especially when it comes from someone who actually builds. This isn't just a product line, it's something that came out of the workbench. Coming back to this build after 10 years, it holds up better than expected. It gave me something to build on, and looking at it now, this is where a lot of my approach really started to take shape. The extra detail, the problem solving, pushing just a little further than the kit asks you to. Model building is all about the journey. Every kit comes with its own challenges, but each one is an opportunity to grow your skills and create something truly one of a kind. So keep building, enjoy the process, and remember, it's not about perfection, it's about pushing your craft forward one build at a time, because there's always another one taking shape.